Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Groom's Perspective with your hosts Martha Haring and Katie Mosdale. We're opening the stable door and delving into the highs and lows of the eventing world via Spotify, Apple and all good podcasting platforms. For the video edition, please visit The Groom's Perspective via YouTube or say hello back on our Instagram. But for now, here's this week's episode. Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Groom's Perspective with me, Katie.
And me, Martha.
And this week's special guest, Henry from HCH Veterinary Physiotherapy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on. Good to be here.
Excited?
Yeah, very excited to have our first out of house guest.
Yeah, I don't think Jan really counted, did it? We pulled her in from the house 10 yards away.
She was cornered there.
Yeah. But Henry, you got in touch and thought this might be something that you'd like to do.
Totally, yeah. First ever podcast.
So,
first time. Yeah.
First time. No one will be able to tell.
We'll see.
Thanks. So we thought we'd get you on to chat. Our theme of our first few episodes has been kind of trying to inspire young people getting into the industry, showing them the different paths that they can take in the industry, whether that is grooming, riding, and in your case, it's going to be starting your own physiotherapy business. So we thought you could give us an insight into how you kind of got to where you've got to, the good bits, the bad bits, and all the bits in between.
And the bits in between, yeah. So I suppose probably the best place to start is from school. I picked A-levels that I quite liked. I kind of followed what my sister picked, to be fair. She chose biology, chemistry, so I did them. She was good at maths. I wasn't good at maths, so I did English literature, which was just because I relatively liked books at the time. So I just did A-levels, and then I was going to study pharmacy at uni, but I'd already planned to do a gap year where I was going to work for Jeanette, so I know the yard. I've been here before. I know the scream that Jan can give me. So yeah, I kind of came here for a year, and whilst I was here, found out that I didn't get the grades I needed to study pharmacy. So and it was actually when on the day that I got my results, I think I'd just been around, I think it was Frickley, and I had 2 stops at a corner, got a nice 60 pens. I think it's the only 60 pens I've ever had on my cross-country record. And Jan said, "Oh, you got your results today. What are you going to do?" I said, "To be honest, Jan, I'm going to get better at riding corners and I'm going to do this for a job." So at the time I was working here, I absolutely loved it. The amount of times I've come back since leaving probably shows that I loved being here. And whilst I was here, I spoke to a lot of people. My sister was at uni at the time, and she was saying, "You've got to go to uni." And I was there. I was adamant. No, I'm going to work with horses. This is my gig. This is what I want to do. And she was like, "No, you should go to uni." And so my sister and my mum were really campaigning for me to go. And she was a coach that I rode for quite a lot at home. And she was saying, "You possibly could make it as a rider, but what happens when you want to retire? What happens if you break your arm? What happens a lot of people have got degrees. You would be more competitive with one." Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of like, yes, I agree with that. So I kind of took someone outside of my family to make me see what the plan was, to be fair. So it was my mum really that found the vet physio course. So I studied that down at Harper Adams. Literally did a kind of whirlwind application through UCAS. And
was that whilst you were here?
Yeah.
Did you reapply?
Yeah, so my original UCAS was totally irrelevant. I missed the grades, didn't get in, pharmacy out the window, going to study vet physio. So I then had to reapproach my old school and say, "Look, can you give me a help? Can you get me back into the UCAS system?" And the teachers actually were quite helpful. So did all of that and then got in, and I think I had a month or so after leaving Jeanette's before going to uni. So the first time I ever went to Harper Adams was the day that I moved in with my mum. So literally I never looked around it. I did a bit of reading around the course, never been on campus, never done anything like that. So I turned up with 2 carfuls worth of stuff, and we parked up and it said, "Go to the library." Where's a library?
What's a library?
Literally. So I went to uni and it was an absolute riot. It was the reason why I picked it was, I suppose it was kind of like I said, my mum kind of put me on the map for it. But like I said, I like science. I did that at A-level. I like horses. That is my whole gig. My whole life is horses. So I was like, science and horses blended together, quite cool to study. So vet physio is the course. You kind of get trained in all animals. I could do dogs. I don't. People ask me now, would you have a look at my dog? No, horses are my jam. If someone said their dog is grade 7 agility, I would not be as slick. If someone said they were jumping intermediates, I would know exactly what they were doing. So then here we are.
So you are qualified for dogs and stuff as
Yeah,
well.
so
you're just not actually it's just not your passion.
Preference. Yeah, so by studying veterinary physiotherapy is its kind of whole thing. So just any animals, not people. People always ask me, "Would you do people?" No. So I am qualified to do all animals.
Not a people person.
Yeah, I'm qualified to do all animals, but just do horses out of choice. Yep. So yeah, I know someone that's did a chicken with a broken leg. They did physio for, but
people pay for that.
Yeah, I did.
It was the type of person that would pay for that.
It was a pet. It was a pet chicken. I don't think there's a commercial scale for it. But I just thought, nonetheless, I thought horses are my language, so I stick to what I like. Yeah, was my kind of plan.
That sounds pretty solid. But you stayed. So you were on campus for uni, as in. So your uni
so you were talking about your
really
uni,
different.
and when I was listening to that on a previous week, and I just thought, "There's no way I could have done that.
No,
that sounded horrible."
It was
so yeah, mine was 4 years full time.
Yeah. I feel like you planned that better because you did the gap year of the horses first. And was it being a groom here or being a groom in general that made you think, actually, I have done this now and I want to experience a different side of life that you don't experience when you're working as a groom?
Yeah, kind of. I suppose it was, like I said, it was kind of my mum and my people, my support network, if you like, were saying you want to have something else. So it wasn't I hated grooming. I absolutely love it. And I've come back several times for days and weekends and weeks since, and I still love just being around horses. It was just kind of thinking I need to have a something else to my name, basically.
Basically, sensible people above were like, get out of this now.
and it was coaches that had worked in the game for a long time, and so when they said it, I was like, that holds value with me. I'm gonna do what you tell me. Yeah.
Sure. Fair enough. But when you were talk to us a bit about like how you actually found like being a groom, but also the benefits of it. Was you said about having your own horse. You had your own horse here and competing. Was that something that was a big part of your decision to come and do it?
Yeah, totally. I knew I kind of finished with school and I thought, it was a proper slog. I would like a time out from it. So I kind of looked around. I applied to a couple of places and came here. And I remember I'd looked around and I quite liked the place. I rode a horse and Jan was kind of like, you can ride. I think that was the one and only compliment I ever got from her.
I haven't had that one yet.
so I rode a horse called JJ that was here at the time, actually coloured. Probably long gone now. But I kind of came, so I came with my horse. And it was the whole thing, kind of coming with my horse, moving out for the first time. Because I'd obviously lived at home. I was doing A-levels, so it's my first time away from home and all of those things. I remember Jan asked me, she basically was like, you're going to come here, can you cook? And she said, we got chickens, and they lay eggs. And I was like, well, I can do toast. So that's scrambled eggs on toast. That's the starter recipe.
See, I had the same conversation when she showed me around, and it was like, we have a cooking rota, and like you cook one day a week. Can you cook? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, which is ironic because I don't think Jan can do very much other than one roast dinner. But yeah,
I know. And I said, I can do a pizza. She was like, well, I think they'd call you a bit beige if you did that. And I'm like,
panic stations.
It's a no from me.
Panic before you even start. Yeah.
That is quite rich from her. She's like, can you cook? She doesn't cook.
I think she's worried that her staff members wouldn't be fed properly if I turn up.
But panic not, you can heat up those chicken nuggets and chips as well.
Someone's got to do it.
And everyone loves it.
Yeah, to be fair.
No fruit and veg on my plate, so it's the chicken nuggets and the chips.
Safe. Protein.
To be fair, you did learn to cook. You always cooked masses though.
Yeah, I mean, when I
your portion control.
I was thinner than I am now when I started here. And within my first month or 6 weeks, I lost about a stone.
Yeah, if you.
And so I was when I was here, I was.
He ate a lot less snacks than we do.
Yeah. Follow me for dietary tips. Yeah, I think when I was here, I was running at about 10 and a half stone, and now I run at about 30 and a half. And my mum was saying...
He was lighter than me.
My mum kept saying, she was like, you need to eat more. And I said, Mum, I can't tell you how much I'm eating. I'd buy
You did
a
eat
ready meal
so
for
much.
4 people, and
Yeah.
that would just be an evening meal, or I'd have a sandwich, and a crisps, and then I'd have my lunch, whether it was a scrambled egg or something else. So I was
You'd pull out. I'm not joking. You get to like we've all got our own fridge shelf, and like at lunchtime, Henry would come in
Yeah,
and like
just
pull
empty it.
out his fridge
Yeah.
shelf, and then it would like pile around him in a
it just made a
semicircle
semicircle.
around
Yeah.
his plate, and he'd just eat it all, and we'd all be like, "What the hell?" And then
How
he'd
are
finish it, and then just go for another. It'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that again.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
round of sandwiches, another
Yeah.
bag of crisps."
How are you affording this?
Oh, I mean, on the
Let
wage
me
I was
in on
getting
the
at the
secret.
time, I was able to really, splash out. I was a regular down there. I think when I came, actually, everyone used to go to Tesco, and that was it was just like the set thing. Everyone went to Tesco, and I was like, why are people doing that? I started going to Lidl, and it was like uncool. When I
It
was
is
starting,
uncool.
I
Oh,
started.
she's such a little snob.
No, I'm not a little snob,
Yeah,
but
she's a
I
little
just
snob.
love Tesco and the way
Yeah.
the supermarket is laid
See,
out.
this is what I came into, and everyone was Tescoers, and I thought this is too much for
Well,
me.
they've done a full circle now because everyone here is Lidlers, and
Yeah, well,
I am a
Lidl.
Tescoer and an Aldier.
You see, you're trying to restart a wave. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was.
she's come in. She's trying to be all. Look at me.
I
Everyone gets to
started.
Tesco.
I started a little wave. I
Yeah.
don't want to brag.
But yeah, fair enough. That was you.
That was me. So yeah, all from money saving to
no,
buy
but-
more food.
Yeah, me too, but
I just love Tesco.
I just love Tesco.
So that was kind of your year here. But then something that you've also been quite focused on is qualifications along the
Yeah.
way, from pony club all the way up. What's been your path for that really? Because I've got nothing.
There was no.
You've got good A levels.
Oh yeah, I mean in the horse world.
Oh,
I've got my pony club. I do have A levels, but I've got my pony club C+. That's it.
Me too.
That's strong. That's better than your C test.
Yeah, but people get that when they're about 12.
Yeah, I got it when I was
Yeah.
about 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no bigger plan. It makes you, when you say you've done it, what was the plan? It makes it sound like there was some grand scheme from day zero, which totally wasn't the case.
You just wanted the felt under your pony club badge.
Yeah, the pony club stuff, I don't know. I just kind of kept doing one and kept doing another, and I think I failed my C+ the first time I took it, and then that was the last pony club exam that I failed, because then the next time I did my C+, they said, oh, you should do your B, and then I did my B, and then I just quite like training and doing them, so it was just kind of like the process. I don't know, I just kind of carried on going through. So I did my AH, so my pony club, the stable management for my AA test. I did that when I was here actually, which for me, for the AH, you don't have to be working in the game, but they want you to talk with experience and real life and all the rest of it. So I was like, I am doing it. So
Did you name drop? You're like, I'm working for.
you could have fallen over the amount of names that I was dropping. So, and then when they kind of say, so why'd you do that? Well, Jeanette Breakwell, who I am under the tutorage of. So yeah, and I could then speak, and then they were like, okay, so if you were to do this, or when you're doing, and I could just say, like, when you're late checking a horse, you're looking for these things, and it's the stuff that you don't realise you've picked up, that when you then someone asks you a question, you're like, yeah, well, obviously you're looking for all of these things when you check a horse late at night.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually, because like we've chatted a lot about before we came here how little we knew, and I was doing all my tests and stuff before, and you know the book stuff, but
Yes.
you don't know the
In the game,
thing. As in,
totally.
like now, it would be.
Yeah,
A lot
and
easier.
we've even touched on this from a different angle in that if you're not in this environment, you don't pick up
No.
what you pick in. Like, it's just totally different. And if we hadn't have been in a Grooms, we would know so much less than
Yeah.
what we do now.
So I guess going and doing your AH whilst here, I think you're probably going with a lot more confidence.
Totally.
Maybe because
totally.
you can just go and be like, well, Jeanette Breakwell does this.
Yeah, and I.
You're wrong, actually. The examiner.
You could get to the level off the books, but it would be book knowledge.
Yeah.
And you can, I certainly now when I assess people, you can tell when someone tells you what they think is the right answer versus what they actually do, which might not necessarily be what you do, but you're like, that's safe, that's logical, that's clearly what you do. Then it comes across in a whole different way. Yeah. So yeah, I did my AH when I was here. I did my A test just at the start of second year of uni again. I don't know why I did that, just because I want. And then kind of the plan, I suppose the plan was actually, the plan was to come across the BHS from the Pony Club route. So I thought if I can get all the way up, I can then come across higher up into the BHS stuff, do a couple of teaching exams, then I can kind of round that off as well. So yeah, I did my A test, and then it was funny because with your Pony Club stuff, it gives you access to different points. So my AH meant that my next exam, because it's the equivalent of like your stage 4, meant I could go in directly from a stage 5, so the top one other than the fellowship. But then I hadn't even done my ride safe. So I had like this kind of motley crew of us. So I had to start my ride safe, but I could also be doing my stable managers and my stage 5 riding, all in the same thing. So I literally went and did my ride safe training, and then I did my stage 2 teach, and I did my stage 3 teach, and I did my 4 teach, and then kind of have finished. I've got all of my stage 4, or I've got all of it apart from the management section. So I've got most of my stage 4. I've got my Pony Club A test. Kind of saying that I'd like to do my stage 5 riding this year. We shall see. We shall see. I'm really happy with what I've got, and my teaching qualifications let me do what I need to do. I can assess all Pony Club exams. I assess up to Pony Club B test. Quite like to become an A test assessor one day, and I've got it, so I potentially could do that. And yeah, my stage 4 teaching means I can teach the people that I want to teach as well now, which I suppose I do alongside the physio stuff.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of teaching alongside, or?
Yeah.
Is that a passion or?
I absolutely love it. Working grooming, working with horses as a whole, I just think is the best thing. You might not say so now in the middle of May, working on the event yard, and I can say here, oh, I'm having a wonderful time. It's so sunny outside. I love working with horses. But yeah, I think working with horses is the best fun. So whether that's teaching people to ride, helping someone physio their competition horse to make it perform better, helping someone physio their hobby horse that they just want to feel as best as it can, or helping something that's not able to canter both ways and you can make some changes. I just love helping people. Yeah. So whether that's someone getting their horse on the bit for the first time, or working towards, doing a higher level dressage test, or their first PE event, or wanting to go to novice, or whatever it is, or equally, just helping their hobby horse that they love with their heart, but they don't even ride, just make it feel a little bit better in the field. I just love everything, whole thing.
And I think that's really important, and why you're good at what you do is because the whole dynamic of why you do it is because you love it.
Totally.
It's the same with the grooms. Like, we couldn't do this job if we didn't love it. And I think that's...
It would. I think in any walk of life, it would just be a massive slog, if you think. But
yeah, and that was a question that I read a book on that. I feel like really textbook podcast material talking about I read a book on that. But I read a book on talking about why you do what you do. A lot of people talk about how, it's by Simon Sinek, what you do and how you do. Everyone can give you that, but why you do what you do. And I remember I was thinking in final year, why do I want to do horse physio? And the kind of thing that I came down to was I like things to get better. I like improvement. So whether that's me, like I say, me physioing a horse so it feels a bit better, or teaching someone so that they can be a bit better in their riding, or I like going to the gym, so whether it's making me better in terms of my strength, my fitness, my balance between left and right, that would be my why I do what I do. What is your why? To put you two on the spot, why do you do it? Obviously, you both worked here. You've worked here kind of 6-ish months. You've worked here for decades. Worked here.
It's been 74 years.
Worked here since Adam and Eve were here. But yeah, you've kind of worked within the groom game for a long time. Have you got a why you do it?
I think ultimately it's the horses. And I think most grooms would say that. I think it's the connection that you do get with each horse. You get to know, you spend so much time with the horses. You get to know each one so well. They've all got such different personalities, and there's ones that you love. There's ones that you don't love so much. There's ones that you love to hate. There's just, I'm going to a 3-day next week, and I'm taking probably the most difficult mare that's going to be impossible to take, and half of me is absolutely dreading it, but the other half of me can't wait to watch her go and perform at her first 3-day, because I've known her from the start and she's absolutely awesome at her job. She's just quite evil in between. Yeah. So, but I love her and those ones as much as you love maybe the less talented ones that you just have a really good relationship with. I think that's probably my why. The people that you work with and the places that you go and stuff, like that's all great as well. But I think at the end of the day, like, we could have had a really long day, and we can be competing all day, and I come out in my pajamas at 11 o'clock at night just to check that the guys that have got back at 9 o'clock, are all okay, and it's just me and it's dark, and I just have my phone torch on and actually just going and putting my head over the stable door and giving their nose a bit of a rub, and I just look at them and I think, like, thanks for giving me a really good day today. good or bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just think
yeah.
like it's really
Thanks for
special.
trying. Yeah, totally.
I think that's probably my why.
That's your why. Your why is the horse's mouth. What's your why?
My why. This is really tricky because I don't like if someone. It's really hard to pinpoint. Like to be like, yeah, that is exactly why I do it. Is that thing? And I think because it's been my life since I've been a young child. I've never known not having horses, and I just think the whole routine of having a horse and that's my why. Like I don't know anything different, and I've tried to branch out and leave horses. Like when I went to university, I didn't have a horse for a year, and I've always come back to it, and I actually don't know why. Like genuinely, if you look at statistically, like why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we
Nothing
doing
adds
this?
up, yeah.
And I genuinely wouldn't be able to go, that is the exact reason I do this. I just think that's my life, and it's been my life for so long, and I don't want it to not be my life. And I think that's the why.
That's quite cool. It's just the fact that it's you.
It's me.
Yeah,
No, but I think it is also it is all consuming. Like you say, from a very young age, that's all we've known. So then that's also what our social media has been built on from a young age. So
It's
then
who
it's
you
what
are.
it's what then the algorithm feeds you. So then when I open up my social media, it's all horse stuff. It's all horse and hound article. Even going back 10 years before the algorithm was quite so scary. You'd like horse pages, so then that's what you see. So then it's just constantly what's
all you
feeding
are.
into you.
And then I think at school, I was like the only person that had a horse at school. So, but then suddenly when I leave school and I go to university and I met my uni riding friends, like we were on a university team, suddenly I'm like, there's people like me, like we've grown up the same, and like I've met you, and we're very similar, and like suddenly you leave school and you meet people that are similar to you, and then that becomes again part of your why.
Yeah.
But I think my big part is I love my horses. Like I really love my horses. Like the ones mine. I love all the horses I work with, but mine are like they're my babies, and I love them, and that's my why.
I suppose that's probably like the same thing then. If it boils down to the love of the horses, is why you do what you do.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It has to be, because when you're absolutely shattered, or when everything's gone wrong, and when
Yes.
when it feels like luck is constantly against you, you still, that love of the horse has to pull through to you to keep going and doing the routine and those extra checks and those extra things. Like you can't have external factors make you think, oh, I can't be bothered today, I'm just going to chuck them in their stable. Like the love of the horse pulls through that absolute like sleep deprivation, the events that have gone disastrously wrong, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You still go out the next morning at the same time, and you still go into that stable, and you still check the horse's legs, and you're still, your eyes are open and you're looking to check that horse is okay, and that has to be subconscious, which I think has to come from loving the horse.
And I think that's probably because I love what you're doing on the podcast and kind of putting the groom's perspective out there.
Couldn't name that.
for kind of people that potentially want to work in the game. And I think the fact that the two of you who are working as grooms on a yard, both saying you've got to love horses, you've got to love the animal. If anyone's thinking about doing it, that's got to be one of their number ones.
It does.
Yeah, and it as long as that is your intention and you love the horses, it's really easy to do well. Like to work for riders, that put yourself out there and get a name for yourself. It's really just work hard, and if you love the horses, it's easy. Essentially.
Yeah, and I think that has to be, like you say, that has to be the fundamental thing, because you do see a lot now of like, it's great, there is so much more profile for grooms, but then you also see potentially a bit of a glorified view, like it's just been badminton.
People thinking they're putting their rucksack on with their tea towel in their back pocket and they're going to badminton.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just been badminton, and there's been so many nice photos and of the grooms grazing their horses in front of the house, and that is absolutely amazing. But those grooms are there because they are absolutely devoted to those horses. Yeah. They're not there for the nice pick in front of the house. That's a bonus. Yeah. But the love of the horse has got them into that job and into that position and a thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point.
I think we could touch on quickly in that is grooming a long-term career? Because obviously you were told externally that you need to leave and get a career, but is our groom staying in the industry? What do are people staying in the industry, or is it not possible to be a groom forever? Do we all need to?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it sound like people told me not to groom. You should pack this in.
I've had similar family situations.
But so. I mean, the people that were telling me that they should get something else, they were like, get it. If you want to go back to it, go back. So kind of what you did, but whereas you didn't pause to go to uni, and you kind of groomed and unied and worked and did everything at the same time. Whereas they were kind of saying, if you're loving it, go to uni, get a degree, and if you're still loving it, go back. So like now, I suppose I could go back. I could come back and work on a yard or whatever. And it was a debate that I had when I finished. And there was a time where I was thinking, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Do I want to start my own thing? Do I want to do this? And there was a teaching job at the uni that I went to. And I thought, do I apply for that? Harry Mead was looking for a work rider.
Yes, I remember this actually.
So I applied for both. And I was kind of like, do I want to be a grown-up and kind of do grown-up things? Or do I want to keep going with horses? So actually I applied to both, and I got an offer for the job teaching at uni, and I never heard back from Harry Mead. So I was like, that's the end decision. But totally. So it's not like I finished uni and I kind of thought, well, I'm past that now. It's out of my system.
See, that's interesting.
I think if the uni didn't come back and Harry Mead did, you would probably be saying, can you come up from Devon or wherever Harry Mead's based in Devon? I'm not sure.
No, Wiltshire.
You would be saying, can you come up and talk on a podcast from a fellow groom?
Yeah.
Instead of
talk about your 8 years as a rider with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not like I kind of had this moment of euphoria and thought, no, I'm a grown up. I'm going to do grown up things. I very nearly came back. Yeah. And even now, I say, if someone offered me, which is it would never happen, but if someone said, I've got 8 horses here, I want to employ, a bit like if you were a cyclist for Team Sky, or what was Team Sky, and they said you're going to be 9 to 5, you're going to have training on these horses, you're nutritionist, whoever else, get like a full package deal off someone with these smart horses, I would drop everything and I would go back and I would groom and ride and work full time in it. Totally would go back.
So this is interesting because we have this conversation with ourselves and we're like, how long do we do this? Like, when do we go, it's time for a career change? And actually, you saying that actually it was always in the back of your mind that you would go back to this even after getting your degree. Totally. It's actually reassuring to hear that.
Yeah, I think because we only really hear of people who go and do something else and then think, oh, I'm so glad I've done that. You know what I mean? We don't necessarily hear the other way around of.
Yeah.
You know.
I suppose it's a lot of the time grooming is kind of what I did is quite often what people do. They do it for a year, got it out my system, got my horse out my system. I went to uni, I studied biology, I studied geography, I studied whatever, and then I just go into my normal job. Yeah, I worked hard when I was a groom for a year, got it out my system. Still have horses, or even don't. Some people literally stop. So that I think of being the classic. You groom, and then you do something, and then you're grown up.
Yeah.
Whereas
this is how I'm looking at it, and that's really interesting to hear because I'm like, right, I finished university and was like, I'm going to do another year as a groom, as like, you know, get another gap year, so I can say I've definitely chucked everything into the horses and it's not worked, and then I can go and get a normal job and look back and be like, I really tried, yeah. And I because I don't want to get a normal job and be like, I really wish I could have gone back and done it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a bit interesting to hear.
So I guess for you, it's almost like you're doing something as close to this as you can, but that's then allowing you to have a bit more work-life balance, I guess. Yeah, to an extent. Yeah. Or a slightly different life.
I would say so.
You know.
And the fact that I can make a phone call to you and you will miss it because you're busy. But then when you phone me back, likelihood is between one thing and another, I'll be able to catch you at some point in a day. Whereas there could be a case of 3 weeks where you are pretty much uncontactable if you work full time.
I don't know what you're on about. Not referring to any specific situations. Yeah, I guess so. How is it different? Because for us, I think this is our job, all hours of the day. You know, 5.5 days a week. It's event season. It's very hard to plan to do anything other than
event season.
We live in a shared house on site. What's different about what you do?
I
do not live in a shared house.
I don't live in a shared house.
I make some money. I can pay my bills.
Yeah, questionable. So when I part-time lecture at the uni, so the teaching job that I applied instead of riding for Harry, I still do. So I'd lecture 3 days a week, and 4 days a week I work for myself. So when I say work for myself, it could be that in a day today, for example, I started working at midday, and so I had one person to teach, one horse to ride, and then another person to teach somewhere else. Then I came here, and then physio your two before jumping on this, and so that's my day. two lessons, one to ride, and 2 physios. Fantastic day.
Sounds like a nice day.
Yeah.
Lovely
Get
day.
me back to uni.
So-
Start at midday.
So that's the beauty of today, was midday start and then cruise through the day, civilized finish. But equally, there'll be some days like over the summer where it's Pony Club camp season, and I will teach most of the day at camp. And then if I can squeeze in a couple of physios in the evening because it's light for so long, or squeeze in a couple of lessons at Somerford or down the road or whatever, I will do that. So absolutely, I can have potentially more of a work-life balance, because if I know that I want to see my mates on that weekend, I just won't book any work in. But equally, I suppose the counterpoint of that is if I don't book any work in, no one's making any money.
Yeah.
Whereas absolutely, you probably can't book a day off between March and October. But when you do then take your day off, you can have a week off, you'll still get paid.
Yes. Yeah.
So when in the self-employed thing, when you got your time off, which is great, I just don't book any work in, quite easy, don't have to sign that off with anyone. I can sign that off with my own approval, but then I just don't make any money. So obviously with the uni, I have holidays with the uni, so I've got a bit of flexibility there. But in terms of the 4 days that I do for me, absolutely I can. So some days, if the work's there, I will brim it. And so like today, I have a couple of changes to the day, but I was going to have an extra 2 lessons, and I would have been starting at 8 o'clock this morning, would have had to leave the house at 7, would have had to woken up at 6. So then actually I'm on then Groom time scale in the fact that the day starts at 7. Instead of you coming out at 7 to feed, I would be in the car at 7. And then because of then last minute chat, I think literally yesterday or the day before, change, that person can't, move it around. So then I've got a freer day, great. Also then I'm not then making money until midday.
Yeah.
Not so great.
Yeah, and I think actually this is interesting because we say that, we sometimes it's really hard to we look at this job and we're like, oh, we're on the yard all day, we're in the cold, we're outside all day. But actually, if we had your job outside of horses, it's the same hours if you're doing your own horse around working. So, if you're getting up at 6, we're getting up at 6. But so it's all perspective and how you look at. It's not all glamorous. Like you could look at the outside world and be like, it must be so easy to just have an office job. But actually, people that have an office job in horses are still doing the same hours essentially.
Yeah, and they're probably looking at us thinking, God, they're so lucky that they can do their horses in the day.
Exactly.
I think it's a lot
and
mindset about
that's actually one thing that I haven't got now. And I went to a first aid course, and they have to tell us an interesting fact about yourself.
I hate them.
Yeah, really.
What was the interesting fact?
Well, my
no.
I tried to be crafty with it, and I said, well, not an interesting fact, more of kind of an ironic fact. I said I work with horses every day of the week, but I don't actually have one at the moment. So I have one at home that is kind of my horse that I share with my sister. And we've got kind of 2 horses that is kind of the family's, but they live they're kind of up now. Down in my house is kind of further away. So he is mine on paper, but really I have very little to do with him. So I work 7 days a week with horses, and other than when I go home and I occasionally go and feed the horses, I pretty much don't own one. So yeah, absolutely. You kind of say, we don't know whether to be grooming or not, and blah blah, blah blah blah. But also when I left, basically since when I was at uni, I was able to still compete and ride, and I do cool stuff with the horse. Since then, all of my riding is on other people's, which is great, and I absolutely love. I totally miss having my own competition horse. But I was thinking only today in the car driving down, I thought, yeah, like today, if I had a horse, absolutely my midday start, then it would have to be getting the horse for 9, and then I'm going to tack it up and school it, and then I've got to do the stable, I've got to poo pick the field, then I can leave at 11 to get to that 12 o'clock start. Fine on a day like today, if I then started at 8 o'clock this morning, Christ, I've got to be at the horse at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not even going eventing, I've just got to do the horse.
Yeah.
So, and that is one of my things now. Yeah, I totally miss having that consistent horse that you can work with.
Yeah.
And yeah, as part of your day, I'd love to be able to go, and as part of my work day, my horse is there, and I kind of do it on the road, and I'm out physioing, and then my horse is included, and I still get paid for the time I spend doing my horse. But I could build my horse into the middle of the day, and I could pause. But again, for those 3 hours when I'm doing my own horse, I'm not making any money again.
Yeah.
So it's stuck in that cycle. So yeah, to fit it in as part of a groom's life is so fantastic.
Yeah, and I think touching on that about basically when you're if you're not working, you're not being paid. We have this really busy season, but then I'll pretty much have a month off at the end of the season. Like I don't really do a grand lot, to be honest, between the end of the season and December, because you've got 28 days holiday to take. You've also I might have accumulated a few days off in lieu that have built up from the season. and then all of a sudden I'm not really doing very much, but my income is still the same. As in, you say your summer's really busy, it's pony club camp season, all that kind of thing. But if you decide to get to the end of the year and take a month off,
Totally.
you can't do it.
Which is actually what I did this summer. I was thinking, I'll go away, and I like to go away kind of late June, early July before the school goes. And I normally go in June, and this year had to go for July. And I was like, yeah, I'll have a week, I'll have my usual week, Monday to Sunday. And I thought, no, we'll shrink that down. So can fit a couple of lessons in Monday morning. So I'll go Monday lunchtime, and then someone's asked if I could teach there on Saturday. Yeah, I'll come back Friday. So then to scale it down. So that's just for the week. We'll shrink it to 4.5 days and just keep it a little bit more contained.
Certainly with my mindset, I would find that would be me.
Yeah.
And I think you'd probably say you've come through being a groom and stuff. Like, the work ethic is really high. Like, it's naturally kind of thing. So it would be very hard for you to be like, no, I'm on holiday for a week.
Yeah.
Because it's like your brain's like, well, no, I don't want to let that person down. I want to make the money. I want to keep the client. I want to do that. That's kind of all those things are playing. Yeah.
And
yeah, I think that's probably just
that
like from the
up.
yeah.
And I think last year, July and August, even if it was just one physio or one lesson that day, I didn't have a day off between July and August because the work was there and I just kept saying yes to it. Yeah. I did then get to September and thought, I'm very tired.
Time for a break.
But yeah, so some days like today, it was a half day. If you were to work today, you'd start at midday, you would call that a half day. So I had something on every day between July and August last year, and I loved it. But yeah, totally, absolutely no plan around that. No kind of time off.
But how amazing is it to say you didn't have a day off and you still loved it?
I still wouldn't say that I went to work over those 2 months. Some of it is at summer for teaching pony club camps, fantastic, or doing physios or whatever. It's not a gruel. It's not dragging my feet to work. So,
and that's what this industry is really for us, isn't it? Or for people that love it, and it's like it is your life, and you don't consider it as a day off or whatnot. It's just you just love what you do, and it's suddenly time has flown, and you're still doing it.
Totally, yeah.
Do you see yourself with any kind of, it's a big question, like long-term plan, or are you? I'm sorry, that's a big one, but.
This wasn't planned.
Don't switch it and ask us either, because we're not going to answer
this. Wasn't planned. This wasn't in the briefing.
No.
Yeah, my long-term plan. I've got a couple of plans.
Okay.
I've got a couple of streams. I don't want to put them out there on the groom's perspective in case I'm then hold accountable to these plans that don't land.
Roughly.
My rough plan is I would still love to keep lecturing. I would still love to do that. I really like research. I think research is really cool. So I want to do more research projects. And I've got a research pad at work where I just write all my ideas down, and I go, that's a good idea. I could look at that one day. Blah blah blah. Write all these down. I'm not going to say any online in case someone steals my ideas and end up doing a great project. It'd probably be a huge flop if someone nicked any of my ideas. So I'd love to keep that. I like to really makes the grey matter work, kind of teaching and lecturing and researching. So I'd quite like to keep doing that. And outside of that, I think keep doing what I'm doing. Basically, I've got targets. I'd love to get to kind of, I think the idea of doing 3,000 or 5,000 physio appointments total across the scale, that sounds really good.
What year?
A year would be busy. I think over the length of the career.
Oh, the career! I was going to say. I was like, I was thinking, I know you like to work.
I think to do that many in a year.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be getting up at 3 a.m.
You would feel that in the body. 10 horses a day, every day to do 3,000. Yeah. No, I would think kind of 5,000 horses over my career of physio.
Right, okay, that's fine.
Because I just think the idea of doing 5,000 is cool. I've seen 5,000 horses trot up. I've palpated 5,000 horses. I've felt this different feeling from 5,000 or whatever, 3, 5, like thousands of horses. I think that is cool. And I suppose that would be my main thing. I kind of keep doing what I'm doing, but just scale it. Teach more people, do more physios, try and do more research and lecturing from a uni point of view. Just upwards, I suppose. Absolutely. Really, I would. My very long-term dream would be I would love to buy a field, and I'd love to have a cross-country schooling field.
Oh, see, I want to do this as well. Yeah, because it'd be really cool, and then you're constantly making money because people are always going to need to use your cross-country course.
That is the idea. That is the principle on paper.
I'd love to do that. Yeah, a little side hustle.
Yeah. Except a side hustle that probably
We're
takes
all-
your whole life
Yeah.
to
I was just
keep
about
it
to
going.
say, we've just got a new side hustle. It's this podcast, and we're now running
Yes.
2 jobs.
I mean, the last thing you'd want to do after recording a podcast is, right, we've got to go and trim those fences on the cross-country field.
Dude, we actually probably would. We'd be like, right, next one.
I think once
Let's
you've done
get on
that
the
for a couple of
tractor.
months, it would then wear thin, wouldn't it?
You'd be
Yeah.
like, it's just really worth that
And if-
£25 cross-country
If
score.
people were breaking my fences as well and they didn't report it to me that they smashed up my new log I painted, I'd be really annoyed.
Yeah. So I would love to do that. That's possibly a bit more of a pipe dream, but yeah, keep
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing, and if I could get a cross-country schooling field along in the process, then even better, I
Pretty
think.
good.
What about you two? Come on.
Well, no, I think that makes me feel better because
Yeah,
I think
100%.
I've always just said I'll do this for as long as I'm learning and enjoying it,
That's fair.
and I am. Yes, there's lots of ideas and things that I might want to do afterwards, but they're all following this path kind of thing. I honestly can't see myself going and working for a different rider. I've been
Hardcore Jeanette Breakwell fan.
I have been in Jeanette's system from, my whole time. And to be honest, I think I'm a bit too grumpy to work for someone else. Like,
We really are in Jeanette's system. Oh, God. I hope she doesn't listen to this part. We can edit that bit out.
yeah, no,
She does listen.
yeah, just listen.
Yeah, we can edit that out.
Yeah, no, I just think Jeanette's probably getting towards the later side of her career.
Digging a hole.
I am digging a really big hole here. But I think basically I just, I can't see myself in 5-10 years time thinking, let's go and start again on another yard.
Yeah.
I know this yard inside out. I know the horses inside out and stuff. And I don't know. So I think you just see what happens really. Go with the flow. Just get up the next day and do the same thing and see what happens.
That's fair. Keep doing what you're doing. Martha, what's your long-termer?
I don't know. So as long as my horses are going well, my horse, my drive for being a groom, and I'll be totally honest, it's my own horse. Like, I love being a groom, but my main motivation is being able to compete my horse and have the training and be in this environment, and that is my motivation. And if my horse broke his leg tomorrow, suddenly I would find it really hard to stay in an environment where I wouldn't be able to have a horse. I'm not a good enough rider for people to be like, ride this one. So I would find it really hard to stay and help other people's dreams because I'm constantly working on my own dream. And I'd be very honest about that.
Yeah, that's
my
fair.
motivation is, it sounds really selfish, but my motivation is me and what I want to achieve. And I love working as a team, and this is great. And long term, I think it's very horse dependent. And
Yeah. I think that's it. I think when so much can go wrong with horses, and we've both seen that and, experienced on a personal level, but also you just see a lot more the more you do of this. I'm also very reluctant to be like, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be doing this. Because,
I think you said that on your first episode, or
Yeah.
your second about not planning.
Yeah, because I just think
Yeah,
in 5 years' time, anything could have happened. We could have had this really, lucky break, and someone said, take this horse, whatever, or my horse is still pottering around VU100s and keeps trying to injure itself in between. And
I'm always worried. You've got to look for the future, and I'm always in the back of my head. I'm like, I'm not okay. In 5 years' time, 6 years' time, I'll be 30, and suddenly life is getting away from you. And I think, trying to plan for the next 5 years. But I mean, at the minute, this is
I just kind of
the plan.
Yeah.
But see
The
where
plan
it
is
goes.
there is no plan.
Yeah.
The plan is there is no plan, and do not plan. Waiting for an opportunity.
That's the thing. You just don't know what's going to come,
No,
and it might be good, it might be bad. Probably
probably be bad.
The negativity.
Oh, sorry, I'm rubbing off on everyone.
Not on me.
No.
Positive mindset.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, to
That's
be fair,
true.
you do kind of. There's a lot of positivity coming off you.
Positive mental attitude.
Yeah. I'm
Every
jealous.
day. Every day.
Yeah, what
Every
podcast do
day's
you
a
listen
good.
to? I need to
Every
listen
day's
to
a
that
good
one.
day. Every day.
Yeah. What quotes do you read in the morning?
All of them. All of the positive
Do
ones.
you? I actually have on my phone. So like the new iPhone layout. you can have a quote that comes up on your phone every day. So every day I get a positive quote come up on my phone.
Do you read it?
Yeah.
That's great. I was just wondering,
Shall I let you want to see what it is?
See what it is today.
I think it's like, what is it at the minute? Reminder, you'll never feel 100% ready. Do it anyway.
There we go.
That's a very profound statement.
There we go.
Yeah, I haven't read that one today. So
I was just about to say, I've not seen any kind of like effect of that on you today, because I've already had like, I don't want to go to Aston on Sunday. I've got a too late cross country time. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go cross country at 7:15 at night. No, I have dinner at 7 p.m. You know.
But yeah, I think that's, there is a lot to be said for trying to be more positive, but it's a balance, positive and realistic.
Oh, but I'm very unrealistic.
I think you can be real and be positive.
No, I think you can, but it's just, you're just thinking about, it's trying not too hard to think what might go wrong.
No, that's why I only focus on what can go well.
Okay, yeah.
True.
Yeah, we need to be.
Yes, we do.
And next week, Henry's coming on for a sports psychology episode where he's going to talk to Katie and Martha about their mindset.
Please.
Maybe that's a future
Yeah, I
guest
think
for
it
you.
could be.
Sports psychology.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to go
Well,
into?
this is it. It's the law of attraction, isn't it? Like, if you're positive, you attract positive stuff, surely.
Yeah.
That was a quote that actually I either sent to my mum or she sent to me when I was working here. If you have zest and enthusiasm, you attract zest and enthusiasm.
Right, this is where I'm going wrong.
I have zest and enthusiasm. Did your zest and enthusiasm rub off on Jeanette?
So anyway, what are your other plans? No, but I think she nearly knew my name by the end of the 12 months.
No, what was your name? Your proper name from Jeanette?
Oh, my official name would have been Henri.
Henri,
When
yeah.
I
What
was
does that
here.
mean?
Yeah, it was just the French. Just the
French
French
for
version
Henry.
of Henry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's
So-
what Jen calls him.
For some reason, I think I started work on the Monday or the Tuesday, and we went cross-country schooling on the Wednesday, and we were on the field at Summerford, and she just went, I shall call you Henri. Okay. And
Too scared to say anything
and
else.
she said, and you shall answer by saying, we. I said, we. And that was it. And then I've been Henri. I don't think she knows my actual name anymore.
Just Henri.
Yeah.
That is
Okay.
so funny.
Yeah. Well, before you go, what was your best grooming memory?
Oh, a genuine positive grooming memory, or
Both.
Let's hear both sides.
Yeah.
I think you were
Your
talking
best
about
and
it.
your worst.
I think you were talking about it last week or the week before. I had a classic of, it was my first time Henry grooming, solo groom. I was always under the wing of Julie, who was head last when I was here. And that was my big moment. Solo.
You've been let loose.
Solo grooming. Got my horse. I've got 2 to get ready. Easy day. I can do that. Wake up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever it was in the morning. Nailed it. Went to bed early. Got it. Julie comes in. 3:05. What are you doing? What am I doing? What? Oh no. Jeanette's phoning me. She's been trying to phone you. She can't get through. She's like, yeah, I got no signal on my phone.
What bedroom did you have, by the way? The downstairs. There's
Yeah.
no
The
signal in there.
downstairs with
Yeah.
no signal. So Jan had woken up, saw there was no lights on in the barn, phoned me. I didn't answer.
You're
Sound asleep. The alarm was like, when I looked at the thing, it said 2:30, but I don't know if I either turned it off before it went on or just didn't even turn it on in the first place. And so yeah, and then woke up. Oh god, panic stations, running
Literally
blindly,
getting deja vu. This is
feeding
similar.
horses chaotically, and then yeah, that was definitely one that sticks with me. A genuine positive one. I to be fair, there was so many days that were actually really good. To be fair, I couldn't tell you one positive day. I had some really nice results on my horse. We had a great jump round Chumley. We went there, we did the novice. And I think at that point it was kind of the June, July of the coming up to a full year. So I was well in the flow. I knew what I was doing. And I think I went with mine and 3 other horses. Just me grooming. I was trusted to wake up and those times. And yeah, Jan was either jumping in the hundreds or the novice with me. And there was one in particular that I just thought that was a fantastic day. I had a really good result on my horse. I felt like I groomed well for the other horses that were there, and I was like, that's a huge positive. But I couldn't pinpoint it down. To a day. There was quite a
Every day is a joy around here.
There was quite a few that were a bit longer. couple of days are a bit longer, and there was slightly fewer laughs. But I always try and squeeze a joke out of someone and squeeze a laugh out of a day throughout. But yeah, I couldn't. I don't know. There was quite a lot of good ones, I suppose. I couldn't pick one solo. You
can just remember the bad one. How much were you sworn at when you didn't wake up?
Actually, not too much, in fairness. And I kind of think Jan was actually quite real about it. And so got the horses. They were still ready because Julie then, obviously, she was awake. She then helped me. So I think I had allocated an hour and a half for me to get them ready. And by the time I'd woken up and gone out, we were still able to get them on the box at the same time.
That's all right.
So I think...
Do it next week.
I think it was fine. I got away with it. But yeah, Jan actually didn't even give me that much of a hard time on that occasion. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people now, when they say, oh, wow, look at you, you're working really hard, you're doing all of this stuff, you work really hard. And I always have to be like, I am going to stop you right there. I might be working hard, but I have worked harder.
Yeah.
Like when people say, wow, you're really busy, working hard. I am, yes, but it was just a different league of hard work. But yeah, it was great fun. And certainly in terms of this is putting grooming on the map, I would say it was absolutely a riot. Yeah, but God, it was hard work.
Yeah. So you would recommend this to people, not necessarily who think I want as a career as a groom, but to go and do a year
just as a spin.
Yeah. Gain some experience, because I guess for you, there's a lot of other things that have come out of being here, whether that's been your uni, your business now, or your qualifications that you've got.
Yeah.
A lot has come out of that. And
totally. I mean, I was saying to my friend a couple of weeks ago, if I had got my grades and I had gone on to study pharmacy, my whole existence would be totally
so different.
Yeah,
different.
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But the fact that I actually missed those grades and I worked here for a year, not that working here kind of made me want to be a physio. It's kind of, like I said, a combination of everything. But if I hadn't have done my time grooming, my whole existence would be totally different. So yeah, horses started full time here. I'd ridden for a long time before then, but doing horses starting, and everything's kind of come off. Like I said, did my AH transfer here, went to uni and did horses, and did my teaching stuff, and all kind of came because I came here because I wanted to do it for a year, and whilst I was here, I missed the grades to do pharmacy, and then the whole plan had to change. But I absolutely love it. And I always say to people when they say, oh, I don't know whether I should go to uni, if you remotely like horses, you should work with them full time. But then I do always do a disclaimer, you will never work so hard in your whole life.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid advice, I'd say.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful story. I've loved listening to that.
Yeah.
It's so similar as well. And
I don't think anyone's ever said that.
Yeah, but
I know what you've done, the university, the yard stuff, I can see what you've done to get where you are, and I think it's great.
No, and thank you for coming on and talking about it, because you've given another viewpoint and another path into horses, that is ultimately what we wanted to do with this podcast, which is, we're not saying everyone come and be a groom. That's not at all what we want to do. We're just come and find your niche.
There's other avenues outside of grooming, but then actually your story would suggest that being a groom actually really helped the second part of your career.
Oh, totally. And there's still people, when I say to people that I've worked for Jeanette or go into places, people still respect it. Yeah. So even now, directly or indirectly, hugely still relevant.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
That's great. That's a really good insight into why we're doing this.
Why we're doing it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on board and sharing your story.
No, I've loved being on. Thanks
you
for having me on the groom's perspective.
You're very welcome.
Anytime.
And we will put in our comments as well your social media and that kind of thing, so people can have a look at what you're all about, the areas you work in, physio and teaching.
Yeah, definitely. I've kind of not really spoken much about physio. I've spoken more about how I ended up doing what I do. But any questions? I love talking about what I do, whether it's my time grooming, teaching, physioing, anything. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I would sell it to anybody.
Perfect. That's what we need.
Point anybody in my direction that was remotely likes horses, and I shall tell them to work with them.
Perfect. That's what we're gonna do then.
100%, yeah. And then, tune in for next week's episode on mindset and positive thinking.
Yeah, Henry's back on next week.
I think a sports psychologist would be a great addition. A sports psychologist would be, as my suggestion.
He's seen us and he's like, right, you need to have a sports psychologist.
He's seen us and he's thinking, I can make some money out of those two.
No, I mean, I think it's a fantastically interesting thing.
So do I actually, but yeah.
Cool.
That's for another episode.
That's for a future episode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you very much, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in
And still supporting us with this.
this crazy venture.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
And speak to you all soon.
Bye.